So I actually want to give you a strategy on how to sell your first 1,000 copies of your book. Okay, so I wrote a book called Scale Smart: How to Get Your First 1,000 Customers in India, and Shraddha Sharma in 2019 came out and said one of the best books to read in 2019. And we had over 3,000 copies sold in a span of 18 months. We have been number 13 on Amazon under the business self-help section. And the book is done well because obviously it was actionable, it was non-fiction, and it had a lot of stories of, let's say, the founders of Freshdesk, InMobi, SlideShare, Bharat Matrimony, and how they got their first 10 customers, 100 customers, 1,000 customers. Okay, so if you had to break your strategy down, the first thing that you want to do is create a framework of what you're going to write about. I'd created, let's say, I remember the first 30, 35 chapters of what the book is going to look like. And I remember writing close to 15 chapters before I actually spoke to someone. And I got feedback that, oh my God, maybe you need to change this up. Or maybe you need to change the tone. Maybe you need to cover more of the facts. And I was like, man, I have to redo all of this. So I remember going through that process and be like, I could have saved time if someone had told me, listen, Ani, just write a couple of chapters and then share it with your friends, share it with your early adopters, share it with people that go like, I will mostly consume this content, okay? And once you get that feedback, also share it with maybe a potential publisher and see what they have to say. Once you've written this piece out, the second bit is actually going to a publisher. So you have two routes. One is going, let's say, the traditional publishing route, which is you go into the Penguins and the Random Houses of the world, or you do the self-publishing route, which is you say, I don't need that publishing house, I'm going to do it on my own. Now, the advantage of a traditional publishing house is they have distribution. You can appear in like 400 different retail stores across the world, or maybe in India. They'll help you with editing, they'll help you what kind of the design of the book should look like. But the challenge is you'll make maybe 10% for every book sold. Right? So as an author, even if you sold, let's say, 100,000 copies, and at an average, let's say you made 60 rupees a book, right, which is the likelihood of that happening is really high, you would still make a very small amount given that the actual cost of the book may be like $500 or $400, right? So that's the disadvantage, I would say, slightly with the traditional publishing. Self-publishing, on the other hand, is obviously you make 70% for every book sold, but you don't have the luxury of, let's say, editing help. You don't have the luxury, let's say, of design help. So pick a route and then decide which one suits you better. Usually for first-time authors, it's a little harder for you to get into traditional publishing. So definitely use a self-publishing route if you can. The third bit is actually how to sell your first 1,000 copies. So actually when you start writing itself, what I would recommend is start building your community. Start pushing stuff out on LinkedIn, start appearing on podcasts, start pushing out little chapters from the book and say, listen, this is for an exclusive community that wants to read, and I'm actually doing this on Facebook close groups, let's say, or on WhatsApp or on Telegram. Like pick a group and start writing the book along with that group. Because once you've hit, let's say, a good threshold, let's say your 3,000, 4,000 members, when you actually push the book live, likelihood of them buying the book, let's say, is 20% or 25%. Right? So that really helps. The second thing that I feel like I did when the book went live was just set up a landing page 3 to 6 months before the book actually went live, and then did a ton of Facebook lives. Okay, there are lots and lots of Facebook groups. At least for me, it was digital marketing groups, it was startup groups, entrepreneurship groups that primarily would find this content or this book interesting. And I would go to the admin members and be like, listen, I'll give you 2 free copies of the book. I'll give you 20% discount if someone wants to use this code for all your members. In return, would you be willing to push this out in your network? And imagine doing that consistently across 15 to 30 Facebook groups that have at least 10,000 members in their platform. Obviously, reach out to people that can help you with PR, people that can help you actually get a radio interview or a TV interview. And some of those things could be challenging, but I know friends, a good friend of mine who's an executive coach who actually reached out directly to an RJ and then got featured on, let's say, radio interview, right? So it's important for you to be really smart about marketing and spending maybe 80% of your time marketing after you've written the product or after you've written this book. Because you can feel like, oh my God, I put in so much effort. I put in 8 months or a year of my effort and I didn't sell any book, right? Now, once you have that book in place, right? Now it's important for you to use that as leverage to say, I'm going to build my workshops, I'm going to do my consulting, I'm going to do my events, right? I'm going to go speak at conferences. So your book becomes like your business card. It becomes a foot in the door. Okay, so even if you don't end up deriving as much value in terms of monetary gain for a book written, it definitely makes sense for you to leverage that and write a book. It's a tag that you're going to have for life. Okay, so as much it may not make sense today, given that everything is moving so digital, it may still make sense for you to actually write a book. And hopefully all of this has been added in this worksheet, so definitely try this and do feel to reach out to me if you're looking to write your first book.